I have the pleasure of moderating a fireside chat with the Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable E. David Burt. Can I get a round of applause? Not many head of states that go on the crypto circuit, so we got to make sure he stays on the circuit with us. So just a quick background on the Premier. He is actually a tech leader and a tech entrepreneur first. He's got a master's in information systems. He has come off winning his third election in Bermuda and has been in power for 8 years. I was going to make a he's getting old joke, but I found a few white hairs in my beard this morning, and so I will hold that to myself. But really, we want to talk about the history of Bermuda and the United States and the innovation that we've been providing in digital assets in Bermuda from a regulatory clarity perspective in hopes of building a stronger partnership with the United States and allowing digital assets to succeed globally. So with that, Premier, maybe we'll go right into it. You've been championing digital assets since 2017. Why did you take such an early leap, and what does that journey really look like for you in these past years?
So Kerem, good afternoon to you, good afternoon to everyone here at SmartCon. We got into the digital asset space in 2017, just after the election when we were elected. But the reality is that it wasn't that I was, some crazy Bitcoin maxi or something else like that. It was nothing. It was just that the conversation 2017, kind of like the conversation 2025 is AI will kill everything. In 2017, it was blockchain will kill everything. And we literally went down this path to ensure that the companies and the financial services companies that were in Bermuda had the capacity to innovate in Bermuda and did not leave our shores to innovate someone else. Bermuda has one of the largest insurance parks in the world. We're known for our funds industry, our trust industry as well. And it was just important to know that our financial services firms could innovate in Bermuda. That's how we are. I mean, since then, we have had the journey. We are now, I can say without fear of contradiction, sorry, people who might take offense, we have the best digital asset regulator on the planet. We've been doing this since 2018, uninterrupted, and have done everything from derivatives exchanges to yield-bearing stablecoins to licensing DeFi protocols and other things of which I will speak about. So yes, this guy looked up. He said licensing DeFi protocols. Absolutely, that is what we're doing in Bermuda.
So, Premier, with the leadership that you've provided for regulators around the world in understanding digital assets and being ahead of the curve, what does it look like now that the U.S. is achieving regulatory clarity with the Genius Act and soon a Clarity Act? How does the Bermuda regime fit and complement the U.S. regulatory landscape?
Well, one of the things about Bermuda is because we are such a reputable international financial center, we work very closely with global regulators. And so whether those are regulators in the United States, whether those are regulators in Europe, or whether those are regulators in the Far East or the Middle East, it is a relationship of which we've already had. We're pleased to see the progress which is made here in the United States, and we feel that it only helps what it is that we're doing here. Because from a perspective of Bermuda, Bermuda is a small jurisdiction. 20 square miles, 65,000 people. No company is going to come into Bermuda to try to make money off of our market. But what we do allow is for companies that are in the United States or other places who want to access the rest of the world and a global market, we're the ideal place for you to launch your global business from. And so any business, whether they're a startup, whether or not there's people who are investing and looking at your long-term strategy, if you have a US focus or another focus, what the question is, how are you going to address the rest of the world? And from the Bermuda regulatory regime and the footprint, that is what it is that we are seeing companies doing. So I'm not going to name companies because I don't know who sponsors this event, but we have a number of various companies that are in Bermuda that are doing just that, utilizing our platform to go ahead and serve a global audience.
Thank you for that, Premier. So, try to get to meat and potatoes of it. I hear Chainlink has been doing some activities in Bermuda. Could you speak to some of the innovations on the government side as well as with the Bermuda Monetary Authority?
Certainly. So from the government side, as I said, we've been at this for a while. And what we continue to do is we continue to innovate our regulatory regime. So whether or not it is where we started with the Digital Asset Business Act, whether or not it was adding clarity for lending, for staking, for derivatives, where it is that we're going now with, of course, the digital identity. We're looking at regulating digital identity service providers, which will enable there to be compliance that can be embedded and built in to the various protocols to reduce that compliance cost. These are all the things which we're doing. And from a Bermuda perspective, we like to be ahead. So what we do is we listen to industry. Industry will come to us. Industry being all of you will come to us and say, these are the types of things of which we do not have the necessary clarity for. I mean, earlier today I was meeting with a team that says that we need some minor changes to rules and regulations that will make sure that our funds can be recorded on blockchains and it meets with your standards. And those are things of which we can change easily. But what you had said is we were talking about DeFi protocols earlier and the licensing of DeFi protocols. The Bermuda Monetary Authority is trying to remain ahead of the curve. So they put out an RFP for a embedded supervision pilot. Chainlink did I guess I would say reply to the RFP. Chainlink was successful, and they are progressing with the Bermuda Monetary Authority right now on an embedded supervision pilot in DeFi protocols, which basically means that the supervision elements, what the Bermuda Monetary Authority does, can be embedded inside of the DeFi protocols, which means that that supervision can happen. This is how we are making sure that we are staying ahead of the curve, because we know there's persons that are innovating on the space of DeFi protocols and wanting to do that, and they want to make sure they do it in a regulatory environment. And that's why for the people who are, you know, whether you're VCs or others looking at the long term, the reality is that if you have a company that has been able to pass the regulatory muster of the Bermuda Monetary Authority, they are far more likely to attract institutional capital, because it is not an easy license to get, but it is a world-respected regulator. For instance, there's only 2 regulators on the planet that have regulatory equivalents when it comes to risk with both the United States and the European Union, and that is Bermuda and Switzerland. And so that is the class where we're in. And so if you're looking for high-quality regulation, this is the place that you'll find it on a global scale.
We appreciate that. So the Bermuda Monetary Authority, for those of you who don't know, regulate not just digital assets or funds, but also banks, reinsurance, and insurance sectors. So for a history of financial services and international business, how does the reinsurance business of Bermuda, this multi-trillion-dollar industry, how does that coincide with the innovations that we're seeing in Bermuda on digital assets specifically?
So here at SmartCon, I think what Chainlink has done a great job of doing is talking about how we, I guess, move from TradFi to digital finance, and how this merge and all the institutional adoptions, and speaking about the tokenization of everything where we're going, and how do you do that in a compliant fashion. So the way that we look at the digital asset industry, the insurance industry, and the opportunity from digital finance is that our insurance companies do have these massive reserves of which they must hold. And from the perspective of this, if we're talking about the tokenization of financial assets, this is, as we look at it, a very large buy side on the various types of tokenized assets which may be able to be enabled. So from our perspective, we are already focusing in the Bermuda perspective on tokenized money market funds. We have tokenized money market funds that are in Bermuda, and it's something that we want to continue to attract. But if you're looking at it from the perspective that these insurance companies have these massive balance sheets, but can manage them more effectively and with less, I guess I would say, friction, if those particular assets and reserves were tokenized. That is stuff that we are already seeing that is happening with our insurance companies in Bermuda. But further than that, just to give an example of what the Bermuda Monetary Authority has been able to do, we are not just dealing with what exists currently. We've also licensed digital asset insurers. So there are insurance companies that are in Bermuda where claims are paid in digital assets, where the balance sheet is kept in digital assets, and where premiums are paid in digital assets, all recorded, all regulated currently right now. So those are the types of things that are taking place. So we view the opportunity of the insurance industry, and we would encourage persons who, may be having views around tokenized money market funds, wanting to do things on a yield-bearing basis that they can do in Bermuda underneath our regulatory structure, to examine how that may work, because there is a very large institutional buy side inside of an economy that already is digital asset friendly, where there may be opportunities for there to be investments based upon the balance sheets of our insurance companies.
Thank you for that, Premier. So I'll round it out with a final question. What do you want the companies, the leaders, the policymakers in the United States to know about Bermuda, and how can Bermuda support the growth and acceleration of this industry at the global level?
So here's the funny thing. Every time I go to a conference like this, or I speak to persons, all the rest, they're stunned. Like it was when I met Sergey last year, and we just sat down and we were talking, and he's like, so all of this is actually happening right now? I'm like, yes. So this isn't something that you're planning for the future. It's like, no, we've had it on the books for some time. Here's the reality. Bermuda does not have the marketing dollars of some of the fancy jurisdictions around the world, which may be trying to attract any and everyone. But the reality is that you will not find a higher quality digital asset regulator on the planet. The same team that started our digital asset regulation sector inside of Bermuda Monetary Authority is the same team that is here today. They have seen it all. They have seen the boom. They have seen the bust. They've seen the scams. They've seen the nonsense. They've seen everything. And they have continued to evolve this regime. So some of the largest players in the world are doing business from Bermuda. And so from that aspect, if you have a global strategy, or if you're examining a global strategy, what you want to do is to make sure that you consider Bermuda. It is not something you will hear often, but if I'll just say it this way, the Coinbases, the Circles, the Krakens, they cannot be wrong. There is a reason why these large companies are in Bermuda running their operations through Bermuda. It is because we have the best digital asset and most advanced thing. And if there's something that you can dream of, ask our regulator. The regulator will either say, yes, we can do that, or no, we can't, but you will get an answer. You won't get stuck in a line, you will actually get an answer. And we're pretty good at doing this, as we've seen many types of things. We are making sure that we continue to innovate, so whether or not it's digital identity, whether or not it's embedded supervision, whether or not it's looking at what is coming next inside of this landscape, we have the ability to do it. So from that perspective, it's great to see the progress in Bermuda. It is a great thing to be working with Chainlink when looking at how we can utilize their tools to assist our Bermuda Monetary Authority in regulating better. And it is great to see the, I guess I would say, more attention being paid to what it is that we're building in Bermuda. And I encourage any and all of you to, say hello. There's not many people here in a pink tie. They're around. Our regulator, our team, Kerem, we're happy to introduce you and to let you know what you can do inside of the best digital asset regulatory system on the planet.